Well, everybody, something very interesting is happening in the world of adult animation right now over on Fox. Fox just announced that they're going to be renewing 4 of their most popular adult animated shows: The Simpsons, Family Guy, Bob's Burgers, and this one's going to be a surprise to some of you, American Dad. They're renewing all 4 of those shows for 4 more seasons apiece, setting them up to run just up until the 2030s, pending another renewal, which is crazy because at this point in time, those 4 shows have been on the air for a combined, and I did the math on this, not great, I didn't count the months, but they've been on the air for just about 95 years combined. Which is fucking insane, because none of them, and I've watched the recent seasons of these shows, none of them are worth watching right now. I would not recommend them to anybody. The only reason they are sticking around and people are watching them is because of the name and because they used to be good. So when I heard this news, I was quite disappointed. However, my mood quickly changed when I saw that Fox decided to invest in some of its newer IPs. Yeah, it seems like these newer shows are finally getting some love from Fox. They're really being given a massive opportunity here. Shows like Krapopolis, which has been renewed for 3 additional seasons. It's ending its season 2 run right now, which is crazy to think about, but yes, it's going to be around for at least season 5 if all goes well. Grimsburg, a show I barely even knew about. I'd seen a couple commercials for it, didn't know what happened to it, but that show is getting a 3rd season. As of right now, I believe it's airing its 2nd season. And then lastly is Universal Basic Guys, a show I am all too familiar with. It's also the reason I'm wearing my awesome Fletcher Cox Eagles jersey today. That show I saw the first 3 episodes of out of spite, I should say. I watch a lot of football and I got a lot of commercials for Universal Basic Guys, and the commercials annoyed the hell out of me. And I was like, I'm not gonna watch this show. But the more of those commercials I saw, the angrier I got, because they were all the same thing where they were like, "Are you a dude? Because you gotta be a dude right now and watch this show about guys doing guy stuff for guys." Stuff like that like panders that hard, that's like, this is just for guys, or this is a thing just for the girls. Like anything like that, I immediately begin to hate. It builds up hatred within me. It's a pet peeve, whatever. But I've talked about this show. I've seen this show. I did not like this show. We'll talk about it later more in depth. But yes, Universal Basic Guys was already set up with a 2-season order, and now they've added a 3rd season on top of that. Now, regardless of what I think of these shows or what you think of these shows, I think that this is great news because it means that these creators are in a position to learn from their mistakes, to perfect their craft. They don't have to worry about earning that renewal just based off a 1st season where they're trying to find their footing. They have a future secured, and they have an opportunity to learn from mistakes and take constructive criticism seriously. So that's what we're here to do today. I spent a little bit of time with each one of these shows, and I'm going to talk about them right now. We're going to assess whether or not I think the renewals were justified, which, as I just said, doesn't really matter if they're justified or not. I'm really just more curious if any of these are worth watching, because I completely fell out of watching Fox's animation domination block when they started canceling all of their other shows back in like 2022 with Bless the Hearts and Duncanville. I think those were around then. Those shows were fine as they started out. I could relate to some of them. And then before they could even really find their footing, they were gone. So to see that these shows have an opportunity to find their footing is great. I'm going to give them a try. We're going to talk about them here. And if you see something you like, I encourage you to check it out. If you see something you hate, avoid it and voice why you hate it, what you hate about it, how you would fix it in the comment section below, because you never know, someone could see it. And if I was working on something for years that I wanted to turn into a massive television property that spans dozens of seasons, I'd want to know what I was doing wrong. I would want to know what my audience is thinking, because just about everyone who watches my videos is a fan of adult animation, I'm guessing. I'm not really sure why else you'd be watching my stuff, and I'm a massive fan of adult animation, and all I really want out of people that make adult animation is good TV shows or good movies. And so that's what we're aiming to do here today. No spite, no hatred, pure constructive criticism, my opinions on these 3 shows that could very well be the future of Fox's animation domination block, if they're ever able to say goodbye to The Simpsons, which I don't know if they'll be able to do that. So that said, this is a very full cup. Let's get into the first show, Grimsburg. Grimsburg is a show about a divorced detective named Marvin Flute, voiced by John Hamm. Marvin is doing everything he can to piece together the many mysteries around the town of Grimsburg, all the while trying to piece back together his family life. Now, not to blow my load early, which is a foul thing that I wrote in this script, but not to like spoil things, Grimsburg is by far the best show we're talking about today. And that includes modern Simpsons, modern American Dad. Grimsburg made me laugh more than anything I've watched in the last month or two. This show is so weird, it's so unhinged, it's so crazy and unpredictable. I just love it. It reminds me of things like American Dad at its best, or F is for Family on Netflix, and to my surprise, Jon Hamm's performance as the detective Marvin Flute, the main character, reminds me a shit ton of Will Arnett's performance as BoJack Horseman. That's about as high praise as I can give, and of course this show, from the 8 episodes I believe I've seen so far, because initially I only watched 4, and then I took a break. I took like a night off before recording this video because my room was too hot. I, on my own time, just watched more of Grimsburg because I enjoyed it so much. This show is very much a hidden gem in my book. I think it's great.
The rest of you will be going undercover as the wedding band.
I don't know, Chief. Don't you think we're a little too big to be going undercover as a wedding ring?
I can't stand that guy. My cousin got addicted to splurt and his heart exploded, along with the rest of his body. He tried to tackle a FedEx truck.
How did you knock me out? Did you slip something into one of those 24 beers?
Hey, no sitting on the equipment! Does that say chair on it?
I mean, do any chairs?
Whoa! Jumping jacks are back!
Now, is it perfect? No, it clearly still has some wrinkles it needs to iron out, but what is there right now is at the very least funny and entertaining. They have their story structure figured out, they know what they're doing there, characters learn things, they grow, they interact with each other in interesting ways, they all have personalities that are well defined, and they also make sure not to bite off more than they can chew with a character. I feel like everyone in this, detective unit or whatever, this like cast of 6 or 7 characters, they all have their time to shine in each episode, they each have their moments where they need to step back and give someone else the limelight. They do a great little murder mystery episode also, where they pair characters off that you don't usually see together, which I know is a bit of a trope, but early on in a TV series, if you can do little things like that, even if they are tropes, it's good to help establish things. And within those tropes, you can bring new things to the table, new ideas, new jokes, new relationships. And I think that that can be fine. And in the case of Grimsburg, they seem to really understand how to construct a TV show, which is more than I can say for one of the other shows we're talking about today, but we'll get to that. Now, I will say that Grimsburg is a show that I would describe as 75% funny throughout each episode and 25% either cringy or hit and miss with its jokes, which might not sound great. It's not 100%, but these other 2 shows we're talking about today, Krapopolis and Universal Basic Guys, they aren't even half as funny as Grimsburg, okay? Grimsburg is a genuinely funny show that I found myself laughing at consistently. There is so much great humor here. There are great lines. There are great character moments, great visual comedy. They really understand how to utilize animation and use it as a tool either for storytelling or joke telling, which I know is like, hey, it's adult animation, use the animation to your advantage. I feel like Krapopolis really struggles to use animation to its advantage, and we'll get more into that later because season 1 has a big reason for why that is. And then Universal Basic Guys is just so flat and plain looking. It's just not very visually appealing, which is fine. It doesn't have to be like stunningly beautiful or anything, but it could at least be unique and have interesting visuals. But when I look at Universal Basic Guys, it's kind of like looking at a flat, basic, minimalist painting of like a sandy mountain in Arizona. Like, it's that bland and empty to me. But Grimsburg, man, this show is nice to look at. It's nice to listen to. It's got a solid theme song, which, yes, I would cheer on each and every theme song of all 3 of these shows. They're great. They set their tones really, really well. Even Universal Basic Guys, I think they got a great, catchy little fun theme song that sets the tone for the show. But Grimsburg, man, I just, far and away, this is the best show. If I had any complaints, I would say that it's a little bit too weird at times. You wouldn't guess it by looking at this detective show that there are robot characters. One of the detectives is a cyborg. Comes out of nowhere. There's no like suggestion that this is a sci-fi show, but I think that they were like, well, we want robots and cyborgs for some of these plot points. So they put in robots and cyborgs. So it's like, okay. And then Marvin Flute's ex-wife was raised by bears. That's real, like an actual real life, like actual bears. Like bears in the world of Grimsburg raised his ex-wife, and she has personality traits and things she does based on her upbringing which again was being raised by bears. And they play it completely straight, which is the way to do this sort of thing. I think whenever you're like, isn't that crazy? We're raised by bears. That ruins it in my book. I like it when you're straightforward, when you're dry, when all the characters in this crazy world take this crazy world as seriously as we take our reality. Because otherwise, how are we going to get like immersed into this world? And then thirdly, for a weird thing, this one, when I initially saw it, I almost turned off Grimsburg, and I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad I stuck with it. But Marvin Flute's kid has a schizophrenia-induced skeleton demon with flaming eyes that he sees and only he can hear.
Don't worry, boy, son. We're gonna duct tape this broken family back together faster than you can say hereditary schizophrenia. Which you also don't need to worry about unless you're still seeing your imaginary skeleton friend. The one who made you pull the fire alarm?
Nope. He bought it, Stanley. Now all we gotta do is make sure he never talks to your therapist. Just like us.
I mean, that's, on paper, that's one of the cringiest, most embarrassing ideas I've ever heard. And to my surprise, every time that weird skeleton character shows up in an episode, I'm fine with it. Like, he's pretty good. If anything, I'm more annoyed at the cyborg detective character. I think he's by far the most annoying of all these weird, outlandish characters. But I don't know, man. I was just pleasantly surprised with Grimsburg. I had a really great time. I intend on watching more of it tonight. Maybe even while I'm working on editing this video, I'll turn it on in the background. I really enjoyed it. If I had any constructive criticisms, I would say, for one thing, it's okay to leave some jokes behind. It's okay to leave some stuff on the cutting room floor. Don't be afraid to have some serious moments or some more emotional moments to bring these characters together or drive some sort of conflict. Because I know it's an adult animated comedy series, and this is a note that I also kind of have for Krapopolis, where sometimes they feel like, oh, we have to be funny every single second. It's like, no, you don't. You have these great voice actors, great performances, 8 episodes into Grimsburg. I like most of the characters, and I would be okay with things taking a slightly more serious tone. I think that's perfectly fine, and I think exploring that could really tick this show up a few notches. But you also got to make sure you're really hammering home that tone, because I think Grimsburg is at its best when it has that like Naked Gun tone, where all the characters in the world take everything that we see as ridiculous dreadfully seriously.
All right, just relax, take it easy. Nothing's gonna happen.
Hey, I didn't do anything.
Oh, yeah? Well, how about this?
You think we were born yesterday? You didn't do anything, huh?
I've got rights. Look,
Look, Ed. He's got a picture of your wife.
Ethel.
All right? Anyone else here seeing his wife?
That's the kind of tone I want to see Grimsburg go for more often. But I think if you really hone in on the tone, I think if you say, okay, let's do away with some of these cheaper, lazier, not as good jokes, and maybe be okay with some quieter moments, maybe use the animation a bit more to our advantage, which again, Grimsburg does the best job of this. There's segments that are like Marvin Flute's brain blasts, like from Jimmy Neutron, where he calls, I think he says he's going into his crime mind. And so he's like going in there, and on paper, like you're watching it and you're like, oh wow, this is great. It's really visual. It's kind of creative, and it's usually pretty funny. And then there's a moment like 6 episodes in where one of the characters is like, you know, Marvin's always going into his crime mind, which is where he thinks about clues to solve a case. And he's like, that's just thinking about things. And it's like, oh my God, that's so perfect for his character to be like that narcissistic and that like, I have to go into my crime mind. And he's like zoning out, like leaned over on a chair. It's so good, dude. I highly recommend Grimsburg. I just got a kick out of describing that, and it makes me want to watch it again. I've been loving this show. Great find for Fox. Congrats to everyone. You deserve a season 3 in my book. I can't wait to see what you do next. Listen to me or don't listen to me. Clearly, this is a funny show, and I would recommend it to everybody. That's about it for this one. Well done. Jesus, I wish I had found it sooner. So now we get to our more complicated show. I'm gonna need a bit more coffee for this one because it's gonna require some yelling. It's not Universal Basic Guys, if you're familiar with my channel. I was quite upset in that video, but I'm really not that upset with the new episodes I watched of Universal Basic Guys. I am, however, upset with Krapopolis, our next show from Dan Harmon, co-creator of Rick and Morty and creator of Community, a man whose writing has inspired me since I was, in like 8th or 9th grade, something like that. I used to listen to his podcast all the time. It's how I found out about Dungeons and Dragons. Like, I play D&D regularly, weekly, and that all started with Dan Harmon's podcast. So I have a lot of respect for that man's work, and Krapopolis is a show that started off on paper as it's everything I think I stand against in the world of adult animation. In the same way that I was upset at how pandery and like brain dead the ads and the marketing felt for Universal Basic Guys, Krapopolis is a show that started off not really as like a great TV show idea, but as a marketing idea. That's a long way of saying it was an NFT TV show.
From Dan Harmon, co-creator of Rick and Morty, comes Krapopolis, the first ever animated series curated on the blockchain, and the first Krapopolis NFT collection, Crap Chickens. Minting a one-of-a-kind chicken featuring art from the show unlocks early access to exclusive content like a token-gated screening room, special merch, private experiences, and a chance to vote on stuff that'll appear on the show.
Season 1 of Krapopolis was designed as a show with blockchain integration, and I looked into this. You would be able to vote with your NFTs, basically using them as tokens. Those tokens would be used as votes to change certain things about the show, whether it's background materials or how side characters are dressed, little things like that, which is the dumbest fucking idea I've ever heard in my entire life. It's so fucking stupid. If you came up with that, you should work in a genius factory where you sit around and make genius all day, and you wipe yourself, clean it up, and go right back to work in the morning. Because Jesus fucking Christ, how dumb of an idea is that? All right, I gotta get online and buy an NFT so that I can change the way one of the side characters looks in the cartoon I'm watching. Are you fucking stupid? You would have to be the dumbest motherfucker on the planet, and I'm okay. I don't care who I offend here. If it's someone at Fox, if someday I'm pitching a TV show and they're like, well, you were really rude to Mr. Wallace or whatever, who's in charge of our blockchain division. It's like, fuck him. Fuck him. Fuck whoever came up with this idea. I've lost respect for Dan Harmon for being attached to this. I don't even know if he had anything to do with the blockchain aspects of it, but it's just being associated with it that really pisses me off, because it stands against everything I love about Dan Harmon's work, which is this almost scientific approach to writing characters and story structure. I fucking love it, man. It's why we talk about story structure so much on this channel. So yes, Krapopolis started as an NFT cartoon. And here's the thing, it's not an NFT cartoon anymore, all right? It's not an NFT show anymore, but you can still feel it in season 1. Season 1's animation is weird, there's just something off about it, and I think it's because they designed it to be hot swappable with NFTs, which again, dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard. Especially when on paper, you already have a hit on your hands. You have Dan Harmon, who has created a cult classic in Community and a regular classic in Rick and Morty, one of the most successful adult animated shows of all time. You have an all-star voice cast with Richard Ayoade, Matt Berry, Duncan Trussell, who you may not love, but I fucking love, because he made one of my favorite shows of all time, The Midnight Gospel. That's an all-star cast. That's great. Everyone else that voice acts in this show is great too. Season 1, though, feels off. It feels weird, and I think it's from that NFT integration. I watched the first 7 episodes of season 1. They were fine if you don't know the plot of the show, which again, this is a problem with Krapopolis. For one thing, people hear the name Krapopolis and they think, oh, that sounds horrible, I don't want to watch that. Whether it's tongue-in-cheek or not, like, I don't want to judge a show based on its title, but you have to understand what that does to outside viewers. They hear Krapopolis. I was testing this with my brother the other night. I was like, I'm talking about this show Krapopolis in a video tomorrow. And he's like, oh, I'm sure that's good. Like, sarcastically, of course, people are gonna react like that. No one's gonna be like, wow, Krapopolis, I gotta watch that. Doesn't happen. Anyways, the name isn't great, but also before you can even get into the story of this show with its characters, which I think the characters are all pretty damn good, you have to talk about the dumb NFT integration, because I think it ruined season 1. Because after comparing early episodes of season 1 to season 2 feels way better. So I think if I do watch more Krapopolis, I'm not gonna watch the next, like, 15 episodes of season 1, because there's like 22 episodes in it. I'm just gonna skip them. It feels weird. It feels off. Season 2 feels better now that they've stripped out all the NFT stuff, and maybe it's placebo effect or something like that. I don't know what the fuck is happening here. Maybe I'm crazy. Let me know in the comment section below. I won't like ding the show for that, but I will stay away from season 1 just on principle for the NFT thing at the very least, and I am enjoying season 2 much more. Basic plot: Tyrannus, voiced by Richard Ayoade, is the son of a god and a monster, voiced by Matt Berry, and I forget who voices the goddess, whatever her name is. She's fantastic though. She has like your stereotypical goddess voice. It's so perfect. Her performance is great throughout.
Hermes
hand me.
I'm just doing my job, Deliria. Olympus has summoned you.
Well, tell Olympus they are counter-summoned to my ass.
But the plot of the show is basically this weird, ancient, mythological family is trying to build up the first ever civilization, and that civilization will be called Krapopolis. And the name stinks, but the show, not half bad. I like all the characters. Again, right off the bat, you can understand where they're coming from, what they're about. Their designs are really solid. Maybe it's biased, but I think my favorite character in the show and my favorite performer in the show, which is a tough race with Richard Ayoade and Matt Berry, but I think it's Duncan Trussell. He's really great. His character's this little fish guy who's all about inventing and technology, which is a great, kind of compare and contrast with the gods and all this religion and mythology. There's so much to draw from with this show. There's so much potential for drama and comedy using Greek mythology and fables. It basically writes itself, and with the proper structure from someone like Dan Harmon, it should be a massive success. But they've just tripped on every single opportunity that's come their way. They've just slipped up in some way, whether it's NFTs, whether it's the stories just missing that heart. I think the real problem with Krapopolis right now, from what I've seen of the first few episodes of season 1 and then some of season 2, it's just feeling kind of hollow right now. It feels like it's missing those emotional moments that I think of in like Rick and Morty or Community, where the characters bond and they share something. Maybe they have a conflict that they resolve at the end. There's stuff like that in Krapopolis, but it just feels cheaper. It feels fake. It feels forced. And maybe I'm like craving something a little bit more sappy, a little bit more heartfelt, like whatever term you want to use. I just wish there was more to get me invested in these characters emotionally. Because how it feels right now is like they're going through the motions and they're doing stuff that makes sense, but none of them feel like really all that real. Maybe except for Duncan Trussell's character and the Cyclops character, whose name is Stupendous, I believe, where I think she's half Cyclops, half giant. So the joke is she has one eye on just the side of her face, kind of like me, like this. Kind of like that, but put the eye patch over it. I don't know, man. It just feels like Krapopolis has 1,000 obstacles in front of it before you can even get to the show itself to start enjoying it for what it is. And even then, it's like, it's pretty good. It's not great. Like right now, the only show out of these 3 that I would recommend to somebody, which I already have, is Grimsburg. By far, that one's really funny. I think it's more accessible, even though it's really, really strange at times. Krapopolis, season 1, I couldn't encourage people to see because it feels off. It feels weird to me. Again, could be placebo effect, but personally, me, from those first 7 episodes I saw, it just didn't feel quite right. Season 2 is better, so I tell them to go in at season 2, and then it's like, okay, well, I'm going in. It's called Krapopolis, and I'm like, yeah, it's pretty good. It's kind of funny. It's not as funny as this other show, but maybe it gets more emotional and engaging as it goes along. It's like, I haven't been sold on it yet. I think I'd have to watch more. I think I am going to watch more. I'd like to watch the rest of season 2. I'd like to like it because it's made by someone whose work I really respect and appreciate, but I just can't get into it right now. It just feels off. There's something off about it, and I wish I could articulate it better. That hollowness, like the best advice I could give, if I could give any kind of constructive criticism, it would just be, maybe don't be afraid of having more emotionally focused episodes. Maybe put the comedy on the back burner a little bit just to really get people invested in these characters. And who knows, it might backfire and people are like, I don't give a fuck about these characters. I just want to see them like stomp around and have a good time. And maybe that's what you want to do as like the writers on the show or whatever as you're working on it. It's like, it's just supposed to be a goofy fun time. But to me right now, it needs something. Like, it needs something. I don't see any reason for people to watch Krapopolis over anything else on TV right now. Like, I do not see the draw. If you really love Greek mythology or something like that, maybe it gets you in. Maybe, I don't know. I'm in the perfect spot right now, okay? I was playing God of War recently. I went and saw a production of the musical Hadestown, which is Greek mythology themed. I ate Greek food, maybe at some point. I should be primed and ready for a show like Krapopolis is basically what I'm saying. I should be in the mood for it. Kind of like when you watch Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And, really want to listen to some blues or bluegrass music, rather. I feel like I should be more excited about it, and then I watched it, and I was just like, oh, okay. So I guess to wrap up the Krapopolis talks, I think it's pretty okay. It's not great. Season 1 is really weird feeling. Season 2 is much better. The performances feel better. The animation is better. The storylines are even a little bit better. But I don't know what the hook is at this point. I don't know how you pull people into it. I don't know how someone says, I want to watch Krapopolis instead of rewatching a season of Rick and Morty they really like or something like that, if they want that same fix, that same sort of style of comedy, especially with it airing on Fox, where there's such a stigma surrounding this channel's adult animation, where really only a certain group of people watch it. I've tried to convince people to watch some Fox adult animated shows, and they'll just scoff and be like, no, I watch anime or I watch Adult Swim stuff, and that's pretty much it, or maybe some stuff on Netflix. And it's like, okay, I get it. I get Fox cuts corners sometimes and has some bad shows, but I mean, Grimsburg is great. Krapopolis has a ton of potential. It could be great. We'll get to Universal Basic Guys in just a second, but damn, man, there just needs to be something more here. There has to be a little bit extra to get me really intrigued with Krapopolis, and maybe I'll see it through the rest of season 2, but right now it's a show with a ton of potential. So here we are, everybody, like 40 minutes past when I recorded the last segment of this video, because I can't seem to get my words right to talk about Universal Basic Guys, because I'm walking on eggshells a little bit. I have a lot I want to say about this show, and I kind of want to clear the air a little bit, because I already made a video on Universal Basic Guys on the first 3 episodes. I made that video specifically because I thought the marketing for this show was fucking horrible.
For decades, Fox Sunday has been home to TV's most iconic animated dudes. This fall, a new legend is born. These dudes are getting $3 grand a month, no strings attached.
Oh, hell yeah.
So what are they gonna do?
Let's go!
Learn to fly, buy a monkey.
That's a dream pet right there.
Build a super suit.
Woo!
Universal Basic Guys is a show about guys just hanging out and being dudes. Am I right, guys? Let's eat hot dogs and drink beer and fish and buy a monkey, because we're guys and this is what guys do. I was watching a lot of football a few months ago when the show was first coming out, and I was getting bombarded with ads from Universal Basic Guys, and I saw it and I was like, that show does not look like it's for me. It looks like it's about someone like me. And then they just kept showing me ads, and finally I cracked, and I was like, you know what? I have an adult animation YouTube channel. I'm going to talk about this show. I'm going to give it a try. I'm certain I'll hate it, but I hate the ads more. So maybe this will get the ads to stop, or at least when the ads come on, I can point to my friends and be like, hey, I tried this show. I made a video about it. It's fucking awful. Like, this is what was my way of punishing Fox for advertising it so much. Because keep in mind, I didn't see fucking ads for Krapopolis. I never saw ads for fucking Grimsburg, and I really liked Grimsburg, as you already know. I got bombarded with ads for this show because I'm in the target demographic. I'm an Eagles fan. I love my hot dogs and my beer. I'm basically one of the characters from this show. But that's why I made that initial video. I was pretty mean about it. It was very clear this show was amateurish. It was poorly put together. It's ugly looking, in my opinion. That's more subjective. I don't think it's overly funny. Again, more subjective, but I think objectively, the writing is genuinely awful. It is not good. It's poorly put together. It can be structured in a way that makes sense, but just because it makes sense does not mean it's satisfying, entertaining, interesting. It's just bland, empty, gross. And if I could describe the first 3 episodes of Universal Basic Guys as anything, it'd be like an expired bag of munchies. Do you know what munchies are? Those like chips that are like 5 different chips all just poured into a bag. It's a jumbled mess of the worst junk food. That's how I would describe the first 3 episodes of Universal Basic Guys, and I stand by that. But there's a twist in this story, because you see, I make this video purely out of spite and rage, and lucky me, one of the co-creators of the show left a very nice comment on my video, which, for me, as a massive fan of adult animation, like, dream come true. Genuinely, a dream come true. Regardless of what I think of the show, for a creator to have watched it, especially when it's that negative of a video, like, to have watched it and then still decided to leave a comment, like, thank you so much, whichever Malamute brother was, the 2 brothers that make this show. Whichever one of you it was, thank you for that. Because not only did that show me that the guys who make Universal Basic Guys, they're very respectable. They stand by their work. They like what they're working on, and I'm confident they can make it better in a season 2. And the fact that they got a season 3 tells me that they have something. They have something. They just have to really work on structuring it. Clearly there's something that the people at Fox see in them and they see in their vision. Maybe it's just the 18 to 49 male demographic. I hope it's more than that, because chances are people are going to get bored of this show once they realize the structure of it is all completely empty. But regardless, I got a really nice comment. I left a comment in response being like, this is the fucking coolest thing ever. Thank you. I may not have liked the show, but I like you guys now. And I know it's every writer's dream. It's every Hollywood writer's dream to win over a sweaty YouTuber over in his apartment. Like, I'm sure they're over the moon at that. But I'll tell you this much. I was over the moon that they even bothered to leave a comment. They did not have to do that, especially on such a negative video. So I'm happy to be back here today talking about Universal Basic Guys once again. I watched 3 more episodes, and it's time for me to share my thoughts right after I turn on a fan so I can air out just a little bit. I have sex with these every night. Well, every other night. Every night. Okay. Universal Basic Guys. I watched 3 more episodes. One episode was about Mark getting into a country club to play golf, where he's not very good at golf and he doesn't even really like it all that much, but he does it to help his wife get in. And then there's a B plot about his wife joining up with a group of feminist women with guns that give people menstrual cramps to save them.
For the crime of reading a science book, you are sentenced to death.
Hello, boys.
Lady fighters? Laundry day is tomorrow if you want to stick around.
Ladies, light 'em up.
What is these cramps? This is the worst pain I ever feel.
Menstrual beam.
Awful episode. Stupid in concept, poorly written, far-fetched, not enjoyable, and characters don't really learn their lesson. Silver lining, however, of this whole episode is it has one really good joke that could have been built up a lot more, because the whole point of the episode is Mark like going in trying to like be the cool golf guy, get into this gentleman's club, this golf club, but he fucking sucks at golf. He's terrible at it, and he doesn't seem to even particularly like it, because at the end of the episode he like fucks up and is like, golf sucks, fuck this, and walks. He doesn't say fuck this, but he says something similarly, which that moment to me I was like, that's a sentiment so many people have had playing golf. My brothers really love golf. I play it with them sometimes, and I enjoy it. I'm not great at it, but that sentiment is all over the place. People like, oh yeah, let's go out and play some golf. 2 holes in, they're like, fuck this. I'm gonna drink and ride in the cart the whole time. That's on the nose. That's perfect. And that's the one thing I can really say about the creators of Universal Basic Guys. They understand those like dude things. They understand the guy stuff that guys do. A lot of things that I really enjoy and I do in my day-to-day life. What they don't understand, unfortunately, and I'm not saying this to be mean, I'm saying this so that they can address the issue if they are in fact watching. Creators of Universal Basic Guys, Malamute Brothers, whoever's helping you write, fire them. Get someone better. Get someone better to help you write. Get someone who either really understands 22, 21-minute television series writing, or better yet, best of all, if you can find them, find someone that has written like multiple seasons, even if it's just a couple episode credits here and there. Someone who has helped on adult animated 20-minute comedy series, because right now Universal Basic Guys is lacking any form of sensible structure. There's very few character arcs. Again, I would describe these latter 3 episodes, just like the first 3, as jumbled junk food. And every once in a while you pull out something out of that little munchies bag that, you know, is pretty good. It's not half bad. There's clearly little nuggets of gold. There's clearly something that these guys understand that other people do not understand about guys and stuff guys like to get up to with like man caves and all that shit. And I know it's stereotypical, it feels like it's pandering to a demographic a little bit, but they have their finger on the pulse. They understand that shit. It's why I'm able to relate to everything they're able to put up there. And maybe that's just me personally, which I'm sure in a lot of ways it is, because I'm an Eagles fan. I love my football, I love my hot dogs, I love my beer, I love my golf, like all of that shit, I'm 1-to-1 with these guys on. Even in the episode, there's an episode where Mark Hoagies wants to get the Jaws of Life, like that big machine. I genuinely wanted one of those as a kid. Like, genuinely. I used to watch Mythbusters, and they had that, and I was like, how cool would having one of those be so that I could build a battle bot because of the show Battle Bots? Like, I relate so much to these characters in this show. I understand what they're going for. What I don't understand is how they even get these stories to the point where they're put together, because it feels nonsensical. And in order to like really show this off, I have to break down my favorite episode of the 6 I've seen so far, which is the episode where Mark Hoagies, the main character, becomes the coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, right there. That episode is stuffed full of great Eagles references, great Philly references, all these little things that if you're a fan of the Eagles, you should probably know or you do know. Mark's wife wears Big 91. Big 91 is Fletcher Cox's jersey, or it's fucking Reggie White's jersey if you go back way back in the day before he switched to 92. But again, I relate to a lot of these choices these creators make, all right? You can see why I felt like I was being pandered to so much in the marketing material for the show. Even my monkey. Where's my monkey? My monkey's wearing Eagles gear. Right there. Like, I get all that, but we have to break down this episode where Mark becomes the coach of the Eagles because it's insane. Let's go over this synopsis real quick of what happens in the episode. Just join me over here for a moment. So, actually, the first 4 minutes of the episode aren't that bad. What happens is Mark is at a bar drinking, he's yelling at the TV, as many Eagles fans do, at least we did back in the day, because the team stinks, and they're kind of establishing, it's a little, you know, in the world of the show, the Eagles stink, maybe they're on a bit of a losing streak or something like that, and Mark is screaming at the TV, oh, you gotta do this, you should try this, and then his rival man, Del Vecchio, I believe his name is like, shut the fuck up, Mark. He doesn't say exactly that, but he's like, shut the fuck up, Mark, you don't know what you're talking about, and Mark's like, oh yeah, I do, what do you know? And Del Vecchio flashes an Eagles Super Bowl ring. And that shuts Mark up real quick because if you have the ring, you have the right to sing about football things. Basically, you earn people's respect. Like, this ring means that I know what the fuck I'm talking about when it comes to football. Mark is like, man, I wish people would take my opinion seriously. Let me order a Super Bowl ring online. Great setup. And again, it uses the premise of the show where he's getting $3,000 a month on universal basic income. $3,000 is how much the ring costs. Like, perfect. That's within the realm of the show. It uses your big hook. I like it. They don't always do that. Sometimes it's a little more far-fetched, or sometimes they just straight up forget that that's even part of the show. Maybe it's implied slightly, but it's poorly written. Not the point. We're focusing on this episode, which so far, not bad. Not bad so far. Mark gets his Super Bowl ring, and he's getting ready to go to the Eagles game with his wife, with his buddy Hank, who Hank is a character that is pretty much reserved only for B plots. He doesn't get up to a whole lot. He's not really all that funny. He's not really all that interesting. I think the joke is that he's uninteresting, which, great joke, I guess. It just left me feeling uninterested, which for a 20-minute show is not good, because with a B plot, that could eat up half your time. So, yeah, maybe spend some time making him a little bit more, I guess, interesting or funny to watch. Give him some more dry humor. I don't know. I can't even discern a lot of the humor in this show, because it seems to boil down to, oh, isn't it crazy how stupid Mark is? Like, yeah, I guess, but not the point. Again, there's a lot of problems with this show. Let's focus on the story structure, which so far is fine. It's fine. Mark gets his Super Bowl ring. He loads up in the car. They go down with their friend who's a Giants fan. Oh, we're getting all up to business. Mark's like, hey, this is just in the A plot. Let me see if I can get up to that VIP lounge. The guy in charge of the VIP lounge is like, hey, you can't go up there. He flashes the Super Bowl ring. He's like, yeah, this is my fucking pass up to the VIP lounge. Goes right up. Gets on past him, starts talking shit around all the VIPs, being like, this is what the Eagles gotta do. So, you know, Mark is talking shit, and it's fine. It's a fine little scene, but little does he know he talks shit right to the owner of the Eagles. And the owner's like, you realize who you're talking to? Or someone's like, you realize who you're talking to there? And Mark's like, yeah. Well, I think that you're doing a shit job, Mr. Owner. And the owner's like, I like the cut of your jib. How'd you like to be the coach of the Eagles? And Mark's like, yes. And they shake hands or whatever. And now he's the coach of the Eagles. So as it stands right now, this is a fine start to an episode, okay? It's just fine. Mark's getting the ring. He goes up. He gets an opportunity to be the coach. Maybe you could do a better job establishing, like, oh, the Eagles are on a massive losing streak. Because historically, there is actually something you could reference with the Eagles, because the Eagles at one point in time, they were so bad, they held open tryouts for their NFL football team. It's what the movie Invincible with Mark Wahlberg is about. That's how bad the Eagles were at one point. You could reference that once again and kind of build a story around that, kind of like how It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia does, which, again, great comedy show. If you ever need writing structure help, look up a script for that show. They are written fucking scientifically. It's great. I wrote a fan script once for It's Always Sunny. That's how much I like how they lay out their scripts. Not important. What is important is that this is a fine start to the episode. You could have done a little bit more, but it's a fine start to the episode. Now, from here is where I vastly differ from the Malamute brothers, or the Malamute brothers, however you say, the creators of this show, because I never in a million years would think to make the rest of the episode take place on the same day. Okay? Now let me break that down for you. Mark becomes the coach of the Eagles, and he is sent down onto the field immediately to start coaching the Eagles at the same game against the Giants. All right, it's not a time skip, because his wife and his friend, whatever his name is, Fred Armisen's character, they're both still there in the same attire, in the same place, doing the same thing. and now Mark is the coach of the Eagles. It happens that quickly. It's like something that would happen in a Bugs Bunny cartoon, but without all the slapstick and the appealing animation. It's so sudden, and it's so fast, and it's so rushed, just because I think the only thing they cared about was make Mark the coach of the Eagles. And then even then, they don't do anything with it. They do nothing with it. Mark wants to play hard-nosed football, which is shit I say all the time. Again, this show is very relatable to me, but just because it's relatable doesn't mean it's put together well. Mark is like, let's run right up the gut. Great job. The Eagles got a first down. He's like, let's do it again. Doesn't go his way. And from there, it's a little montage of him just fucking up and the Eagles going down like 55-0. And it's the biggest home blowout ever. And they're like, oh my God, the Eagles suck. Who's this new coach? And the owner comes downstairs and he's like, well, I just found out you didn't really win that Super Bowl ring you're wearing, Mark Hoagies. I should have done more than 5 seconds of research when I made you coach, which is a classic mistake. Let me point out real quick. Maybe you hear that and you're like, oh, isn't that a funny little line? It's like, yeah, it's a funny little line. That's like, oh, yeah, he's calling attention to the fact that there's this massive plot hole where he didn't do any research and he didn't vet his new coach candidate just because the episode needed to have Mark be the coach and he couldn't be otherwise. It's like, yeah, you've called attention to that. So now anyone that didn't think about that knows that you are writing poorly, right? Like, you just called attention to the fact that you did a bad job putting this story together and it makes no sense. And you can make a cheap laugh out of it, sure, but I mean, how cheap does the laugh have to be before you realize you've cheapened the entire show? It's not even overly funny. It's not that funny of a bit. It's not new. It's not novel. And all it's done at this point is made you look like a worse writer than you actually are. And I'm not saying this to be mean, because how are you supposed to get better if you don't know you're bad right now? How are you supposed to be a better writer if you don't write shit and then look at it and say, this sucks. How do I make it better? And you write, and you write, and you write. Draft after draft after draft. It's fucking infuriating. I can't tell you how much stuff I've written, how many Google Docs I have of old projects that I'll look at and I'll cringe at and I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm up to like draft 4 on this fucking thing now because I rewrote the entire thing because I was getting pissed about it. It happens constantly. You have to rewrite constantly. And if your end script has a massive plot hole in it and you're like, let's just write in a little line to brush that off. It's like, no, that's like, you just fucking fucked up in a major way. You just were willingly lazy and you made a choice to make your script worse. You made your show worse and tried to cover it up with a cheap laugh. Never do that. Never call attention to your plot holes. If there's one left and there's nothing you can do, hope people don't notice and just keep on moving and hope the rest of it is well written enough. But this is my problem with Universal Basic, guys, is that it seems like they just don't care about the structure. They just care about the initial idea and they're like, let's do this. I have like 2 ideas for scenes. Meanwhile, this episode is basically over at this point. Nothing's happened. Nothing interesting has happened with the idea of Mark being the coach of the Eagles. Nothing interesting has happened yet. He just calls some plays, one goes well, everything else goes poorly, the team starts losing, they're like, hey, you're not the coach anymore. That's not even a real Super Bowl ring. Go to Eagles jail, because there's a rumor that underneath the Eagles stadium, there's a big jail because the fans are so crazy. Like, again, all these great Eagles references, and the episode is still shit. It's written fucking terribly. If you want your Eagles fix, if you want a Philly fix, watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And if you want to learn how to write good structured scripts, read an It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia script. They are really well, written scripts. They're broken down great. But this episode is all but over after this point. I'm sweating like a pig at this point because I'm so worked up at how dumb the execution in this episode is. The episode's basically done at this point, all right? Mark doesn't learn anything. He doesn't have this big moment or this big lesson that he learns. He just gets put in Eagles prison. His wife saves him. The end. That's the end of the episode. Like, the A plot was a B plot, and the B plot was, I mean, it's stupid. It's about Hank getting a robotic Swoop, which is the mascot for the Eagles. He gets a robotic mascot costume because now that Mark's the new coach, he makes him the mascot, like the backup mascot. So, I mean, it's dumb. And then they go fight little trolls, which I've never heard. They said there's little football-shaped trolls under the bridge. I'll see if there's clips of it. It's so fucking stupid. It's so dumb. This show is beyond dumb, which would be fine so long as it was funny or entertaining, which I just don't think it is. And real quick, let me just briefly go over what I would have done instead of this this idiotic way of having the story unfold, because you have this great little setup where it's like, Mark is the coach of the Eagles now. They didn't do any research, just he's the coach. Don't have it all take place on the same day. If that's a budgetary thing, then you got to change the way this story unfolds in general. You can't do Mark's the coach of the Eagles this time, because if it's like, we have 2 locations, we have home and we have the stadium and maybe the bar at the end. Those are all the locations we can have. It's like, okay, well then maybe don't do this episode. It's too ambitious. Because first thought that comes to mind, Mark is the coach of the Eagles. Get him on the goddamn practice field. Have a big scene where it's like, oh, he's doing practice. Call a play for us, coach. And he has no idea what he's doing. He has to like quickly make something up on the whiteboard that's just complete fucking nonsense. There's your potential for comedy. Maybe he's like trying to look like the alpha dog and he starts like shit talking one of their star players and he walks off the field and it's like, no, he's holding out for his contract, coach. Like, there's so many different little things you could do. And they just chose the easiest, laziest, dumbest route possible. And that is the fucking mantra for Universal Basic Guys. But the good news is, you can fix this. This is absolutely fixable. While this is by far the worst show I'm talking about today, it still has a renewal. It still has the opportunity to get better, and I would highly, highly encourage the Malamute brothers, the guys that created this show, however you pronounce their last name, I feel like I've said it 1,000 times. Please reach out to someone with a lot of experience, even if they just want to get coffee. I can't tell you how many like writers, or I guess I should say how many amateur writers I know, or beginner writers, that just want to talk about it, that just want to talk about the process. Get talking about it. Start to get some ideas about this structure, because the way Universal Basic Guys is laid out is fucking idiotic, and it makes me feel stupid while watching it, and then by the end of it, it makes me think that you guys are stupid, which clearly you're not, because you've sold a TV show now at this point for 3 seasons. I don't know if it's laziness or if it's just ignorance of how to put these scripts together, but it is tough to sit through. Like, it is genuinely tough, especially for someone that loves structure as much as I do. And again, I'm in the target demographic for this show. I am literally one of the people in this show. I might as well be Mark fucking Hoagies at this point. Like, we have so much in common. But even then, I haven't been won over yet, because the structure is that bad, the writing is that bad, and the show in general, to me, is just a fucking disaster. But hey, there aren't many fucking disasters where the creators have my respect. So at least there's that. Maybe that, I don't know, put it hanging on the wall, I guess. I can't imagine any writer on planet Earth, any creative person is like, yeah, you know, the show's doing okay, but what I'm really excited about is this YouTuber likes it. So there you go. No one gives a fuck. It doesn't matter. I'm here because I love adult animation. I love talking about it. I'm very happy that Fox is giving all these shows opportunities. I really hope they don't squander it. And if there's one thing you can take away from this video, it's that you should go watch Grimsburg, because it is by far the best of all these shows I've talked about. And I think I'm going to watch some more of it now that I'm done recording this video. That's it. Well done, Fox. Universal Basic Guys, still not very good. Krapopolis, a lot of problems, has potential. Grimsburg, pretty good. Let's go. I'm done. It's 1,000 degrees. I'm opening the window. I'm taking off all my clothes. And I'm gonna have sex with that monkey. Goodbye.